Welcome to A Better Way here with Canopy Mortgage. So excited for our guest today, Amy Tarr out of North Carolina. Amy, if you want to take a minute and introduce yourself, maybe share some non-mortgage related things you like to do. Always like to find a little bit about our guests, but we're super stoked to have you on the show, and I'll turn it over to you for a minute to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you. So I'm in North Carolina. So I've been in the mortgage business for over 20 years. It's pretty much what I do most of the time. When I'm not working, we have our grandson who's 12 and he lives with us. And so we stay pretty busy with that. But yeah, mortgages is pretty much what I do most of the time.
Okay, I do know a couple other things about you though. You like wiener dogs.
I do. I have 3.
Yes, 3 wiener dogs, which is awesome, miniature dachshunds. And then, let's see, and you're a beach lady. You like the beach.
I do like the beach, and we travel back and forth between the Piedmont and the beach. But I cover 3 states, so I cover North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. But yes, we do have a beach place down at Ocean Isle, and then we have our house here in Lexington. So we can go back and forth depending on what's going on with the family and the needs for business. We like to do nonprofit stuff. We like to give back to the community any chance we get with that. That's pretty much what drives me.
I just thought of something I want to highlight about you because it sums up to me who Amy is. And I know you don't like self-recognition or being in the spotlight. I know that's not your jam. But if you wouldn't mind sharing, obviously there was a terrible tragedy in Asheville, North Carolina. But something you did that I just absolutely admire, if you would share kind of the need that you saw and what you executed on.
Okay, so I'll give you the short version. I don't know how long we have, but it was in the news, and I don't usually watch much of the news because it's not very positive most of the time, so I try to stay away from it. And my mom kept telling me what was going on. And so she probably told me about 3 different times before it clicked. And I said, we've got to do something. She's like, how are you going to do anything? You can't get up there. And I said, well, God will find a way for us to get up there. So we connected with a local gentleman who has a ministry, and he's also a pilot. His name is AJ, and he offered his airplane to deliver supplies. And that was going to be the initial route that we took, but we thought that he was also involved in search and rescue. So we felt like that was probably better fit. So we didn't bog him down with our stuff. But it ended up, when God gets involved and it's something he wants you to do, it works out a lot better than if it's not. So it's all him. It's not me. But we ended up with 8 tractor trailer loads full of supplies, and we sent up the mountain through donations through Canopy, other organizations that, helped out with products as well as cash donations we used to buy more stuff and to pay for the fuel. Because when I set it up, I sometimes get excited about things and I don't think about all the pieces. I just want to get to the end. My mother, she says I'm kind of like a start and finish person. I don't care how I get there, but I'm going to get there. So I didn't think about the fact that we were going to need fuel for the trucks. So then the friend of mine, Leanne, that owns the trucking business, she's like, well, we can cover the fuel for a few loads, but then we'll start talking. I'm like, oh man, we got to put gas in the truck. So then we raise money to put gas in the trucks. That's kind of important. But so yeah, we ended up with about 8 tractor trailer loads, and we still have more stuff to send up. It's just kind of pulled back because everybody was inundated with supplies and it was becoming kind of chaos for them. So we plan to continue as much as we can with that.
Love that, and love that you're one of the few individuals like sees a problem, doesn't wait around, immediately organizes and goes. And I remember you sharing this was way bigger than what you could have imagined to begin with, right? It quickly spurned into almost a full-time job for you.
It did for a little bit.
Yeah.
My husband helped out because he always comes to the rescue. Corey, whatever I come up with, I'll be like, I've been thinking. He goes, oh no. So whatever's going on, he's always there to help or to handle.
Love that. And I think this is a perfect segue. You shared something with me, and I hope I'm not getting too personal in sharing this, but obviously God's an important part of your life. And you're in a unique industry in which you've had some really cool opportunities. And granted, without disclosing personal data on clients, maybe if you could share a couple of the unique clients that you're helping right now with mortgages and have helped.
Sure. So yes, I believe that when you put your faith in Jesus, that you can do a lot more than if you try to do it on your own. I mean, I've heard this so many times in my life. Go ahead and tell God your plans, because his plans are much better than yours. Shucks, it's took me 51 years to kind of realize that, because I kind of like to do things. But if you follow him, it's a lot less painful. One big thing with me is I believe in second chances. I think that everybody can change. That I'm not saying that everybody will change, but if they have the desire to change, I think anything's possible with God. So, we had one client that we recently did a mortgage for, and she had been an addict for a long time, and for a while, and lost everything and started over. And her life is totally changed, and she's doing great. And she bought a home, and that's huge. I just believe that it's an opportunity when you can do something like that. It's not about what you're going to earn off that loan, or, who else you're going to get to do business with, but it's about helping that one person as though, you're treating them the way you'd want to be treated. So it just worked out to where we just listened, and she's like, I never thought I could buy a home, but you can. And my thing is, I don't ever like to say no. I might say not right now, but I try not to say no, because nobody likes that word, especially my grandson. He really don't like that word, but or he don't like it either. But then the other situation that we were blessed to be a part of is a gentleman that spent about 20 years in prison. He had made some bad choices when he was in high school, and it put him away for a while. And we couldn't get we couldn't get a job history. He's been in jail, but he's out for a year now, and he's doing really well. And him and his wife want to buy a home. And I said, well, let me call the warden. I'll get your work history. And so we did, and we got his history while he was incarcerated. And, FHA just says work history. It doesn't say where it had to come from. And so we did that, and then he's under contract. And so he's going to buy a home. That's what makes all the difference, is when you do it because you love people and you want to help them to do better. And you're doing it more that reason than you are because you want self-gratification, or you want, to make money doing it, or whatever. You want to be big on your Facebook. I don't know. Me personally, I just soon do it and then cheer them on from the sidelines, because that's what makes me happy. Is somebody said one time that for me to be around people, it's like plugging me into a battery. And that's pretty much right. We had the whole COVID thing and we couldn't be around anybody. I thought I might just die. But I had my daughter. She was getting in the mortgage business, so she took care of all that lacking I was missing there, with her company. But yeah, it's great when you help other people. That's what it's about.
No, and I love that. I love how passionate you are. That's one of the reasons. My favorite thing about being a loan officer is and was helping individuals get into a home who thought no way possible. I mean, you take a guy who was in prison for 20 years. I'm sure he didn't think like, oh, I could get a home within 2 years of being out, and you help him fulfill that dream. And I think that's just one of the most satisfying things about being in this industry, is helping people realize their dreams when they didn't see a path, and a good loan officer like you did and provided that path for them. Super, super cool. So let me ask a question, switching gears just a little bit. What actually got you into this industry? I always love hearing the story of why the mortgage industry, if you wouldn't mind sharing that.
So I did not choose lending. I don't think anybody does. I mean, maybe they do. Allie did. But anyway, that's my
That's
daughter.
because she had a mom that knocked it out of the park and saw it.
But she's so good, though. She's just so good. But I tell people, I didn't choose mortgage. It chose me. I was working at a credit union for several years. I worked in their contact center. And they decided that they wanted to have now this is before the NMLS ID. was required to talk about mortgages. Okay. Cause I'm old. So this was way back. Y'all don't be turning me in. And anyhow, so they said, we want to have a phone service when people call in, if they want to talk about a mortgage or they want to do an application or look at interest rates, but we got to train somebody to know the acronyms, know what to say, how to position it. I said, well, I'll do it. Why not? It's knowledge. So I sat under the mortgage department for probably 2 weeks, maybe a little longer. And I made a big handbook. And it was not easy. I said, this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn because there's so many rules. And as soon as you learn the rule, it changes. So we got the little handbook done. And then I started filtering in calls through the call center for mortgages. And as soon as a position came open after that in that mortgage department, I applied for it and I went to work in mortgage. I processed for a long time. I was fine with that, but I wanted to do the front end. I wanted to be the one putting all that stuff together. So I processed for a long time. I trained some processors. I learned closing just enough to be dangerous. I don't want to do closing. And eventually then, I dabbled. I did 1 year as a realtor because it helped me to learn that side of the transaction too. And then I went back into mortgage and then eventually, became a loan officer, but it wasn't right from the very beginning. And so I think I'm grateful for that because it helps me to respect and think about what these other folks on our team are going through and not just throw it at them and say, here, figure it out, because I've been in their shoes. And so to me, it's better because I understand all the steps it takes and we can work together. And my processor right now, she said, you don't need an assistant because you pretty much go through it all. And I said, well, I just want to help you. Corey says I'm kind of a control freak, but I just like to help. And Corey, my husband, who I absolutely adore, he's a mortgage underwriter. So if I get it wrong, he'll let me know. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And once you're in, man, you're pretty much there. I tell Corey, I'm like, one day I'm gonna retire. He's like, okay, what are you gonna do? You're gonna be telling,
Yeah, I always say it's like the Eagles song, right? The
Yes,
Hotel
he is.
California.
Yes.
You can check in, but you can't check
You
out,
will
right?
never.
Yep. So no, that's super, super cool. So let me ask you a question. What do you offer that's unique to any of your competitors out there? Like why would I choose Amy Tarr and her team to help me get a mortgage?
I'm the best. No, I'm kidding. That's not fair. Well, like I said, I hate for something not to work. So, I'm available most of the time to help you. But I guess the one word that comes to mind out of all that is honesty. And I even put that in my email. I'll say, I'm sending you your disclosures and I've got everything on here. Some lenders will not send you everything on your initial disclosures. I will not be some lenders. So, and if they decide to go with the competition, then at least I have been honest with them, and put everything out there. Because, at the end of the day, I don't issue a pre-approval letter until I have made certain that I can keep my word as best possible. Things happen, but it's all about respecting the next person in line. And if you're honest and you're upfront and you do your due diligence, then to me, that's what sets our team apart is we really have heart in it. And we're not just willy nilly, doing this and that just to get the next deal. So it's about integrity and honesty. And that's what I want people when I retire, which is never, I want people to say, hey, she cared, that.
No, and I love that. It's funny. The last word you used was cared, and that's what I would have summed up. Like I genuinely know, based on conversations you and I have had, how much you care about that client. That it's not just a number, but there's a real person behind that transaction that has dreams and desires of their own, and you get to be that shining star who steps in and helps that happen in the right way. And so very cool. I love that. The other thing I would add, like, why would I choose Amy is, man, you get that Southern accent every time you get to talk with her. So
Cornbread mortgage.
I'm a sucker for the Southern accent. So
Well, thanks.
No, but we are so very thankful to have you as part of Team Canopy. So excited to watch you continue to grow and build your book of business and help others make their dreams come true. So thank you so very much for your time today and for being a part of the Canopy family. We love you, Amy. Have a great day.